In today's lecture, we are going to study an extremely important structure of the head and neck, the larynx, commonly known as the voice box. The larynx is much more than an organ responsible for producing our voice. It has three major physiological roles. It provides a passage for air, protects the lower respiratory tract during swallowing, and produces sound that allows us to communicate. The larynx is a hollow cartilaginous organ situated in the anterior part of the neck. It lies approximately opposite the C3 to C6 vertebral levels and connects the pharynx superiorly with the trachea inferiorly. It is also suspended from the hyoid bone. Let's understand what we mean by a cartilaginous organ. The framework of the larynx is made mainly of cartilage. These cartilages provide structural support while allowing controlled movement of the vocal folds. The larynx is therefore both a relatively rigid framework and a highly mobile functional organ. The laryngeal skeleton consists of several cartilages. There are three unpaired cartilages: thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, and epiglottis. And there are three paired cartilages: arytenoid cartilages, corniculate, and cuneiform cartilages. These structures form the framework of the larynx. Think of the cartilages as the structural framework of a building. The muscles attached to this framework and their contraction moves particular cartilages. This movement changes the position and tension of the vocal folds. Therefore, cartilages provide the framework, joints permit movement, muscles produce movement, and the vocal folds generate sound. The thyroid cartilage is the largest cartilage of the larynx. It consists mainly of two broad laminae that meet anteriorly. This anterior projection produces the laryngeal prominence, commonly called the Adam's apple. The thyroid cartilage provides important protection to the underlying vocal folds. You should remember that the thyroid cartilage is not a solid block. Its shape and attachments allow it to participate in laryngeal movement. The thyroid cartilage also provides attachment for important muscles and membranes. The external landmarks of the larynx are clinically important in procedures such as tracheostomy and cricothyrotomy. This is why knowledge of surface anatomy is not merely theoretical, it is essential in emergency airway management. Cricoid cartilage. Below the thyroid cartilage is the cricoid cartilage. One of its most important anatomical features is that it forms the only complete cartilaginous ring of the airway. Superiorly, it articulates with the arytenoid cartilages and also participates in the cricothyroid joint. Because of its location and easily palpable position, the cricoid cartilage is an important landmark during airway procedures. Now we come to the epiglottis. The epiglottis is a leaf-shaped structure composed primarily of elastic cartilage. Its major function is related to airway protection during swallowing. Epiglottitis, which is inflammation and swelling of the epiglottic region, can compromise the airway. The arytenoid cartilages are paired pyramidal cartilages located posteriorly. They are extremely important because the vocal folds attach to them posteriorly. Therefore, when the arytenoid cartilages move, the vocal folds move. This is one of the key principles of laryngeal physiology. Movement of the arytenoid cartilages changes the position of the vocal folds and therefore changes the size of the glottic opening. The arytenoids also provide attachment for several intrinsic laryngeal muscles. The corniculate and cuneiform cartilages contribute to the supporting framework of the laryngeal inlet. The cartilages of the larynx are connected by membranes and ligaments. Important structures include thyrohyoid membrane, cricothyroid ligament, quadrangular membrane, conus elasticus. These structures provide support while still permitting controlled movement. The thyrohyoid membrane connects the laryngeal framework with the hyoid region. The quadrangular membrane contributes to the supporting framework of the supraglottic larynx. The conus elasticus is particularly important because its upper free margin contributes the vocal ligament. The cricothyroid ligament is clinically important because the cricothyroid region can be used for emergency airway access. An emergency airway procedure through this region is known as cricothyrotomy. Intrinsic muscles of the larynx are located within the laryngeal framework. The major muscles are posterior cricoarytenoid, lateral cricoarytenoid, thyroarytenoid, cricothyroid, transverse arytenoid, and oblique arytenoid. These muscles control the vocal folds. We can classify their actions into four major groups: abduction, opening the vocal folds; adduction, bringing the vocal folds together; tension, increasing vocal folds tension; and relaxation or fine adjustments. The posterior cricoarytenoid is particularly important because it is the only muscle that abducts the vocal folds. Abduction means moving the vocal folds away from the midline. Why is this important? Because when the vocal folds abduct, the glottic airway becomes wider and air can pass more freely between the pharynx and trachea. Therefore, the posterior cricoarytenoid is essential for maintaining an adequate airway during inspiration. A useful exam point is posterior cricoarytenoid is the only abductor of the vocal folds. The lateral cricoarytenoid and arytenoid muscles contribute to adduction. Adduction means bringing the vocal folds toward the midline. Why do we need adduction? We need it during phonation because the vocal folds must approximate so that airflow can cause them to vibrate. We also need strong laryngeal closure during airway protection. So the same anatomical mechanism has two major purposes: voice production and airway protection. The cricothyroid muscle is the major muscle responsible for increasing vocal fold tension. The thyroarytenoid muscle and its specialized component, the vocalis muscle, contribute to fine control of the vocal folds. The larynx therefore behaves as a sophisticated biomechanical system rather than simply functioning as an on-off valve. The muscles that move the larynx externally are suprahyoid and infrahyoid groups. These muscles are particularly important during swallowing and speech. The laryngeal cavity can be divided into three main regions: laryngeal vestibule, laryngeal ventricle, infraglottic cavity. The laryngeal vestibule is the region above the vestibular folds. The laryngeal ventricle lies between the vestibular folds and the true vocal folds, and the infraglottic cavity lies below the vocal folds and continues towards the trachea. Understanding these divisions help us describe the location of laryngeal lesions clinically. The true vocal folds contain the vocal ligaments and vocalis muscle. These structures are central to phonation. When the vocal folds are positioned close together and air is driven upward from the lungs, pressure and aerodynamic forces cause them to oscillate. This repetitive vibration produces the basic laryngeal sound. The frequency of vibration influences pitch, while the amplitude and aerodynamic conditions contribute to perceived loudness. Vestibular folds are also called the false vocal cords or ventricular folds. Unlike the true vocal folds, their primary function is not normal voice production. They contribute mainly to protection. During forceful closure of the larynx, the vestibular folds can approximate and contribute to sealing the airway. Therefore, the distinction is true vocal folds are for phonation, whereas the vestibular folds are for protection. The larynx contains different epithelial types depending on the mechanical and functional demands of each region. The respiratory epithelium lines most of the laryngeal cavity, whereas stratified squamous epithelium lies over the vocal folds. Why is stratified squamous epithelium appropriate over the vocal folds? Because the vocal folds are exposed to repeated mechanical stress and vibration. Stratified squamous epithelium provides greater resistance to mechanical irritation. This becomes clinically important when the laryngeal mucosa is repeatedly exposed to irritants. The larynx receives arterial blood supply through the superior and inferior laryngeal arteries with corresponding venous drainage. The major nerves are branches of the vagus nerve, superior laryngeal nerve, and the recurrent laryngeal nerve. The superior laryngeal nerve divides functionally into internal and external branches. The internal branch is primarily sensory to the larynx above the vocal folds. The external branch supplies the cricothyroid muscle. The recurrent laryngeal nerve supplies motor innervation to essentially all of the other intrinsic muscles of the larynx and carries sensory fibers from below the vocal folds. Injury can therefore interfere with the vocal fold movement. One of the most recognizable consequences is hoarseness or alteration of the voice. This is particularly important during thyroid and neck surgery because of the anatomical relationship of the recurrent laryngeal nerve to the structures in the neck. One of the primary functions of the larynx is to maintain an adequate airway. During quiet inspiration, the vocal folds are abducted sufficiently to allow air to pass into the trachea. During increased respiratory demand, greater vocal fold abduction allows a larger airway. Therefore, the larynx is not simply a passive tube, it actively regulates the resistance to airflow. Now let's discuss the function most commonly associated with the larynx, which is phonation. Phonation means the production of sound through vibration of the vocal folds. The term voice box is commonly used for the larynx because the vocal folds are located inside it. But an important point is that the larynx does not simply create speech. The larynx produces the basic sound while the pharynx, oral cavity, nasal cavity, tongue, lips and other articulatory structures modify that sound into recognizable speech. So when we speak, the respiratory system provides airflow, the larynx converts that airflow into sound and the upper airway modifies the sound. This is an excellent example of how different systems work together to produce a physiological function. Let's simplify the myoelastic aerodynamic mechanism of voice. Myoelastic refers to the muscular control and elastic properties of the vocal folds. Aerodynamic refers to the effect of moving air and pressure differences. During phonation, the vocal folds are brought toward the midline. Expiratory airflow increases pressure below the vocal folds. The pressure pushes the folds apart. Air passes through the glottis. Elastic recoil and aerodynamic forces help the folds return toward the midline, and this cycle repeats. This rapid oscillation produces sound. Therefore, voice production depends on an interaction between airflow, pressure, muscle control, tissue elasticity, and vocal fold vibration. One of the most important functions of the larynx is to prevent food and liquid from entering the lower respiratory tract. During swallowing, several events occur in rapid succession. The larynx moves upward, the vocal folds adduct, the supraglottic structures contribute to closure, the epiglottis moves over the laryngeal inlet as part of this coordinated process. The result is temporary protection of the airway. This is why swallowing is not simply a movement of food from the mouth into the esophagus. It is a highly coordinated neuromuscular process involving both the digestive and respiratory pathways. The cough reflex is another important protective function of the larynx. Suppose a foreign particle or irritating material reaches the laryngeal region. Sensory receptors detect the irritation. Afferent signals travel through sensory pathways to the brainstem, where the cough response is coordinated. The respiratory muscles then generate a forceful expiratory maneuver. The glottis participates in this process by closing and subsequently opening during the forceful expiratory phase. The resulting high velocity airflow helps remove irritating material from the airway. So the cough is not simply air coming out. It is a coordinated protective reflex involving sensory detection, central integration, glottic closure, respiratory muscle contraction, and forceful expiration. Before we finish, let's review some important points. The larynx extends approximately from C3 to C6. The thyroid cartilage is the largest laryngeal cartilage. The cricoid cartilage forms the only complete cartilaginous ring. The epiglottis contributes to airway protection during swallowing. The posterior cricoarytenoid is the only abductor of the vocal folds. The cricothyroid muscle increases vocal fold tension. The superior and recurrent laryngeal nerves are branches of the vagus nerve. The vocal folds are central to phonation, and the larynx is essential for airway protection, respiration, and voice production. Thank you for watching this lecture on the clinical anatomy and physiology of the larynx. If you found this lecture useful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Dr. Uzma's Medical Academy, and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss the upcoming lectures in our anatomy and physiology series. If you have any questions about the larynx, its muscles, nerve supply, phonation, or clinical anatomy, write them in the comments below. Keep learning, keep revising, and most importantly, try to understand the mechanism behind every anatomical structure rather than simply memorizing facts. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you and keep learning.